Welcome to Constructive Interference, where visionaries sharpen visionaries. I'm your host, Rufus Cressend, diving into the minds of those who dare to dream big and innovate boldly. This episode comes with a twist. I'm sharing a conversation originally streamed live on Abizer Rasheed's LinkedIn. We explore what it means to live authentically, navigate the noise of expectations, and shift from chasing recognition to leading with purpose. Let's get inspired and sharpen our visions together.
Rufus and I go, I don't know how far back. It seems like a lifetime or two, maybe. Just enjoying his talent and his heart and his words of wisdom. And so I thought bringing him onto the bigger game and talking about the bigger game, of course, being, seeing the forest through the trees, elevating oneself beyond the day-to-day attachments and encumbrances that get in the way of us being our higher selves, and just, reaching our goals much quicker, faster that way. And of course, everything that gets in the way of that, how we eliminate that head trash and keep moving. So Rufus, welcome. You take a minute and just kind of tell us about yourself and kind of who you are real quick so we can get a sense of who you are.
Sure. Rufus Cressend. I'm a certified financial planner for business owners, and I basically help people make smart money decisions, and help people invest smart into their business, help them with exit strategies, how to tie it all into their personal financial plan. So I've been a financial planner for about 29 years. And I guess I can see myself doing it for at least another 10 is on the runway in the current business plan. We'll see where that takes me. But that's my family is, I have two twin boys that are 14. Oh my goodness, it's hard to say sometimes. Those are my babies. And then my second daughter is 25 and my oldest daughter is 36. So we have them every 11 years apart, apparently. And my grandson's actually 2. So that even fits the 11-year cycle. So I don't know what the next 9 years will bring me, but that'll be interesting. That's for sure. My wife Lisa and I have been married. Oh goodness. Well, let's see. We did things opposite. How about that? We had Shelby, so that's my second daughter. She's 25, so that means that me and Lisa probably been married about 23 years. So we had my daughter, we bought a house, and then we got married. So maybe not the most traditional way, but it's the way it worked for us and still working.
So you mentioned financial planning, but I think that's just an excuse for something much deeper and broader that you're about. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, in regards to who I am as a person.
Your why, why you do what you do. Yeah. I think financial planning is just a reason to meet people, I think.
Maybe so. Now, it was one of those things where it wasn't something that I went to school necessarily for. I mean, I did go to school and graduated in finance. I just figured with a finance degree, I can be in any business. That finance is that common thread in every business. So I figured that would give me the most options. Did not know what a financial advisor or a financial planner or a stockbroker really did. I mean, I knew what they told me they did in the textbooks and classes. But I think I just come from a professional background. My father's was a CPA, is a CPA. So I guess I always saw him as someone that people, because of his tax knowledge, people usually, with tax issues, they will worship him if he can solve their problems, right? So it was one of those things where he had a lot of respect professionally for the work that he was doing, the service that he was providing. Didn't really, like I said, didn't know what I wanted to do. But as far as meeting people, it was just kind of a series of happy accidents of how I became a financial planner. It's not like I said, I didn't dress up as a financial planner for Halloween when I was a kid, right? So it's just not one of those things that you say, this is what I'm going to be when I grow up, like other professions, like a firefighter or a policeman or whatever. So I think what I enjoy the most about it is the service. It's to be able to serve others, make a good living in doing so, and have the mutual benefit that I do better as my clients do better. I suffer when they suffer. I prosper when they prosper. So I like being in line with that. I like being that relevant person in their lives that they can hold them accountable, that they can rely on, that can help them navigate. So I think that's a gift every day, to come in there and to be able to be that relevant person to the people who want my help, and to be able to serve them. I mean, I don't know any higher calling than to serve. So.
Yeah, it's a great thing you're talking about, service, right? Being of service, and how many times people are concerned of being taken advantage of, and other things that show up. That head trash you were talking about before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Keeps us from playing the bigger game instead of being of service.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps you can share a little bit about your wisdom on how you've navigated that journey for yourself. Hey, were you there at one point? Were you somewhere else at one point? You kind of found a way, your path forward, and kind of describe that a little bit. I think we'd love to hear about that.
The first thing that comes to mind is that, I mean, like I said, I did this right out of college, so I really don't know any other profession. I have plenty, which you are well aware of. I'm very passionate about a lot of things. I think if one word could be to describe me, would be passion. So I literally fall in love with everything that I'm interested in. So I really go all in. I think earlier in my career was very interesting because you talk about a lot of the head trash, a lot of the noise, and that's exactly kind of the thing that a younger me would have been very a younger me would have benefited greatly by knowing the older me, and if they could just hear some of the words of wisdom of not letting not measuring yourself against your idols, not having these false heroes, doing things for recognition, doing things to make yourself feel like you're good enough and you're worthy. And it was to the people who didn't matter. Okay. I wanted to be recognized. I wanted to be up on that stage. I wanted to be great in the eyes of the people who could give a crap. So I don't know if I can curse on here, but it was one of those things that and as you kind of go through life and you start reflecting on things, and I think a lot of us, even conversations with you, Abizer, starting to realize that, you will be forgotten by the people who don't matter. The people who do matter are the ones that you can really impact, are the ones that you really should be pleasing if you feel you need to please. But you're also not responsible for anybody else's happiness either. So stop trying to please everybody. So I think that once I could, this was a literally transformation for me, to where I'm taking recognition things off the wall. I'm taking away all the little statues and awards and trophies and plaques that I've gotten over the years. And I said, I don't want to see them anymore. I don't want to look at them, because I don't want to measure myself by those things, because I'm now measuring myself based on what other people are capable of, or whatever the standards that other people have decided for me. And I started deciding that I'm going to measure myself against what's important to me and what's important to the people who matter. And measure myself on what I'm capable of, not what other people have achieved. And then want what I want without having to have any reason for it, just because I want it, and then go out there and get it and not apologize for wanting it. So all these things that I think the head trash things have to fall in place for people. People need that narrative. People need that closure of a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I think that was, they have to latch on whatever narrative that they see. So they look at what other people have done. I'm like, okay, that sounds like a good idea. I'll go do that. They seem to be happy. If I do those things, I guess I'll be happy. And it's nothing could be further from the truth. So I think that's what the younger self really would have benefited of knowing a lot earlier. And I think I would have been a lot more grateful along the way. Now I think it's still there. It's always going to be there. I mean, it's hard because it's in surround sound everywhere you go, being measured and being compared of what success is. But just to recognize it is probably the first step, is knowing that you're being manipulated and that you're using the wrong ruler to measure. So,
the interesting is being manipulated. Who do you think is doing the manipulation in your experience of your journey?
I think the marketing, the TV, the social media, everything that we turn on. It's, podcast. I mean,
Well, that's definitely part of the surround sound you talked about.
Yeah. People
Who's
usually trying to
actually?
sell an agenda, or people just getting other people to agree with them.
So I would think that a lot of that is like myself, right?
Mhm.
Myself manipulating myself because I choose to partake in the surround sound, like have it mean something to me, right? And it's difficult. We're all human beings, right?
It's
So
hard, right?
it's tough not to get immersed in that without creating something newly for myself every moment to moment and doing it intentionally, right? And living into that, right? If I just go on autopilot, right? The stereo, the surround sound, as you called it, it's so awesome. I love that word.
Yeah,
The surround sound just takes over, right?
yeah. I mean,
So
we still have
I
to
love how
live
you've
by.
navigated that for
Yeah,
yourself.
we still have to live by social rules, and there's certain things that we can't just go around saying I don't give a shit about anybody, I don't care what anybody's feelings are, or anything like that. So, I mean, of course, you got to be aware of things that will get you booted out of that community. So you do have to play by certain rules, but understanding. I don't know. I think that's one of my wife's biggest pet peeves is that I question so many things that are tradition or rules that are there, and I'm like, it's the spirit of the rule, it's not the literal translation of the rule, is the way I look at it. And I also look at different situations in real time and say, I understand what everybody else is doing, but I'm going to do it this way. And it frustrates the hell out of her because I'm more of a natural risk taker, and she finds comfort in being with the social norm of what everybody else is doing. So
Yeah, I can actually see, I can experience that back and forth. I think the interesting part of that, like you said, is, well, I think what you're pointing to is civility, right? Civility and those types of things. And then there's another shade of that, which is, going along to get along, right? And then there's the other piece of that, which is just to settle into the group because everyone else is doing it. I'm going to do it that way, right?
right.
And so, how does one navigate one's life and live one's life the way that he or she wants to live it, right? Versus being put into one of those boxes, having to live by just those. Pick a path, 1, 2, or 3, right? Where's the fourth and the fifth and the sixth option, right? So I think the interesting thing when you look at all of that is this idea that you can create as you go. And it's not a matter of being civil or not, but it's a matter of, like, I'm going to a tennis match. I'm not going to wear a tuxedo and go to a tennis match, right? But I'll choose to participate. Like, there's all these studies out there that talk about fitting into a group, and so we as human beings think if I'm going to fit into that group, I got to be like the group to fit in. However, when I do that, I lose my uniqueness. And I actually lose myself, and I lose the group loses value in me, because any unique piece the only reason why I belong to that group in the first place is because I bring something unique that the group wants. Right. And when I am, as a human being, I'm looking at it going the exact opposite way. Like, boy, how do I drop all of that just so I can fit in and be part of this group? It's stunning in its simplicity, and yet how we unravel it, as you talked about before, like trying to please everybody and doing all of those things, you put it all together, and like you said, it's surround sound, right?
Well, look, you got to remember, this was and this was your survival mechanism from when you were a child, Abizer. I mean, you had to fit in. We're tribal social beings, right? Yeah. So if you did not fall in line, you made your parents angry. You got punished. If you messed up in school, you got in trouble at home, or you got in trouble at school. So you had to do what everybody else did out of fear of being kicked out of the safety of the tribe. Now, as we grow into mature adults, no one ever told us how to turn those things off. So we carry those early learnings of survival with us into our adult life. So we go into these social settings and we're like, okay, who am I showing up as? Which one is the least risk of being rejected, laughed at, booted out of the group? How can I make sure that everybody accepts me as one of them? So we put on whatever mask we need to put on. So it's just one of those things where, but if we were smart and we realized, like, no, or have the confidence to say, I'm going to show up as me. And if they don't like it, that has nothing to do with me. That has everything to do with them. I'm just going to be me regardless, because that's the only person I know how to be. Because I'm not really good at being other people, because they have more experience at that than me. So it's when you think about it, it's so easy. It just rolls right off the tongue. But of course, when we're in those moments, it is very difficult, especially if you got one person that's a little bit more louder or more energetic than the others. I'm like, oh, I'm in this person's shadow. Let me just kind of lay low. I don't want to bring too much attention to myself. I'm not that confident yet. So
it comes back to, I think, like when we're 2 or 3, we don't have that problem.
No.
So I think it comes back to the surround sound you're talking about, and our egos kicking in.
Oh yeah.
And us listening to that surround sound from our egos versus from who we really are, loving, joyous, generous folks that we all espouse to be. And I think we really are underneath all that armor, right? That we use to protect ourselves with. I mean, look, when I was 2 or 3, I don't know about you, but most kids when they're 2 or 3, they don't want to go to sleep because something cool is going to happen. Well, when's it going to happen? I don't know, right? But right after I go to bed, what's going to happen? I don't know, right? But it's going to be cool, right? And so we just live that way. And at some point, life experiences happen, stereo sound, call it what you want, surround sound, call it what you want. And at some point, we end up putting all this armor on and protecting ourselves, and then doing what you just put on. Which mask do I put on to fit into this group? When the group is really starving for just that 2 or 3-year-old, that rambunctious, energetic, passionate soul that started this journey. Right? That's all they're starving for.
Right.
So I think that's a great point you bring up, and we were able to take that apart a little bit. So there was one thing that you would tell your younger self. You talked about that a little bit about what you would, what your lessons learned about your own journey. What's the one thing that's got in your way the most of all those things?
It's hard to say which one, but I can tell you one that I do often remind my children as I see them going through grammar school and going into high school. And it's consistent with what I was saying earlier. It says, it's not about getting people to like you. It's about getting people to like themselves when they're around you. And when you can have that mindset, and that's consistent with what you're saying, is that just be yourself and serve and be curious, get people talking about themselves, and people love talking about themselves. So of course they're I could have a 15-minute conversation with a complete stranger and just ask them questions about them, and they know nothing about me. But at the end of that 15-minute conversation, like, I met that guy Rufus. Hey, I really like him. He's a really, I really feel good when I'm around him. I know nothing about him because I was talking the whole time, but all I know is that I really like that guy Rufus. It's like, how could he like me or not like me? He doesn't know anything about me. But it was the fact that how he felt, or how I made him feel, by being genuinely curious and interested in hearing his story or her story, or what's important to them, and talking about their family, talking about their travels, whatever it is. And people love that stuff. So I think that's the other thing, because I see my children trying hard to kind of almost going down the same path of me as being that people pleaser, right? And it's almost like the harder you try to get people to like you, the more you're going to reject them, because it's like your authentic self attracts people, your inauthentic self repels people. And that's
there you go.
In our minds, it's actually counterproductive of what we think it's actually doing. We're trying to be the guy that everybody likes. In return, we're just that desperate person that seems to repel people.
And then we wonder what's going on. What the hell? What's going on here?
They like me. Oh my goodness! So when
more head trash.
Just let it go, and it's like, you know what? Take it or leave it. This is it.
Notice the vicious circle, right? The head trash creates more of that, and that creates more of the head trash, and it just continues to feed itself over and over and over and over again. I love that,
and it comes across as confident. I mean, we always looked at the guys at high school that the girls tended to like. We called them the bad boys. No, they're just the guys that didn't give a shit, So, but that came across as confidence. Versus the rest of us, where we're just like, oh, like me, notice me, right? And we're just repelling these girls. And if we would have just shown up with like, take me or leave me, I don't care. Oh, that was the challenge. They like that, So little things that would have served me a whole lot better in high school than actually I did. So
I think that there's a fine line to navigate there. I mean, we're obviously as
Well,
in
there's
high school
cocky.
stuff,
There's cocky, and then
right?
there's
I
confident.
mean,
There's the line. Yes.
the line between arrogance and confidence is so thin, right?
Yes.
It's
Confidence is just arrogance under control.
well, confidence coming from love and care, though, it doesn't need control. I would say confidence coming from love and joy source, like with the things that you espouse, your authentic self, especially love and joy that you carry in your heart, right?
Right.
When you source confidence from there, I think you're a man unleashed.
I try to be. I don't know about unleashed.
Well, I mean, but
no,
coming, because really,
it's just easier.
In those cases, you can be yourself, be free, and you can say whatever you want, because I'm getting the fact that you're coming from love and care and not coming from, look, I tell you, you smell, right? You're either going to slap me or you're going to thank me. If you get I'm coming from love and care, you're going to thank me. If I'm coming from like an arrogant place or whatever, rude place, you're going to
pull me
slap
aside
me.
and tell me that. Just don't say it in public, and I won't slap.
No, don't say it in podcast.
Yeah, right. Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? How can you smell from there?
That's excellent. So, what's your like? Give me a part of your journey that's been instrumental in you shifting from. You mentioned started off this conversation around being of service, and then how your ego was kind of intertwined and doing it to look good and things like this, and now it's over time it's morphed into more of just being of service. Mm-hmm. Right, without any seedy underbelly of anything else for yourself. Tell me more about that, because a lot of people get stuck in that. Right, they're like, how do I give it away without getting something back for myself?
Right,
and then there's reciprocity thing about one last thing. This thing about reciprocity, where like, I do so much for everybody else, and no one does anything back for me, et cetera, right? All that head traffic shows up. What do you speak to about that?
I think, okay, so the biggest mind shift for me over my career, especially earlier on, you figure, okay, recognition, wanting to be relevant, wanting to be looked at as a professional. I'm looking at all my heroes, my idols, my father, the other producers that are out there that are all stars, and saying, I wanted you to be just like them. So once I could kind of put those things aside, I started recognizing that what I was doing in my profession was trying to be the hero in everybody's story. And for many people, they were allowing me to do that. And that's where I was finding the most satisfaction, is that I came in and saved the day. I solved all their problems. So where I'm finding so much more joy and satisfaction in what I'm doing is allowing people to be the hero in their own stories, and not necessarily, like I said, it says, I get to be Mr. Miyagi. They can be the Karate Kid, or I can be Yoda. They can be Luke Skywalker and save the Death Star. I don't necessarily have to be that hero in their story, even though, it's really changed my craft a lot. It's almost like, Abizer, you come to me with issues, and I already know the answer. I've done this long enough to where you don't even have to finish the sentence, and I'm just ready to pounce. And in the past, I would do that. I would say, here, I know what you're going to say. I know how to solve it, but let's just cut to the chase. You're going to do this, this, and this. And for certain people, like, oh, great. Hey, it's worth every penny. But if I really wanted to make an impact, I would say, tell me more about that. And I would start crafting my questions and guiding them to the answer that I want them to get to where they now own it. It's like, did I just come up with that answer, or did Rufus? But I think I did, but it was through my questions. So that is more of a masterful craft of allowing people and guiding people to be the heroes in their own story and not have to rescue them all the time. And that's, it's harder, takes more time. But I think, like I said, when you can just sit behind the scenes and, it's like, I did that. I did that. You get the joy from it, but they get the recognition, and that's really much more fulfilling than the false glory of being the hero in somebody else's story, which you're really not. You're really not. It's just in your head, and it's a little moment of doses of recognition. But I think the other thing too is that when they are the hero in their own stories, they feel empowered. And my job is I'm in the business of helping people get shit done. Okay. So if I really want them to get stuff done and see things all the way through, I like the idea that it's their idea. They own it. They're championed it. They came up with it on their own through my guidance, but it's now the solution. They've recognized the problem through my series of questions. They see the reality of their situation. Now they understand the solution. And now they're like, okay, well, how do I implement it? Yeah, I'll come in there and give them tips and help. Say, yeah, you use this, this, and this. Here are your 3 options or 2 choices. This is my recommendation, though. And then, yeah, you'll help them along with the implementation side, but it's still their overall solution that they came up with. They own it. They're more likely to implement it versus me saying, you need to do this, this, and this. Just trust me. I've been doing this a long time.
So one, you speak to the difference between you and other financial planners, for starters.
Mm-hmm.
And then you speak to, you started off with the separation of being of service from your ego and take for the accolades, right? Versus just sitting back and knowing that's the privilege of playing some small part in someone's journey, right? And knowing that you played. I mean, they did all the heavy lifting. They had to choose. They had to make some choices. Whatever they did, right? And they had to earn it. They had to do whatever they did, right? However, you played some small part in that, and I think that's the satisfaction you walk away with. Right. And I think that believe in God, a higher power, faith, nature, natural law, pick whatever you want. I think at the end of the day, that's just how you put good energy out, you get good energy back, right? And that's such a pure form of being of service. So I just want to acknowledge you for that shift. That's a huge shift that you're talking about. It just rolls off your tongue like it just happened. And I'm sure there was a lot of work to be done to get there.
It was a lot of unfulfilled milestones. It was the unfulfilled feeling of reaching different milestones. And I'm like, that wasn't it. Okay, let me try this one. No, that's not it. And I was just asking the wrong questions. And like I said, I found it along the way. But no, it's just much more joy than being their mutual fund salesman or their stockbroker. Yes, do I still do that? Is that a very large part of what my company does? Absolutely. But even from that standpoint, I decided I wanted to differentiate myself from every other financial advisor or stockbroker out there and say, I don't touch your money until we've done financial planning. No exceptions. If you bring me a lot of money, yeah, I could generate a lot of income from the management of that money. But if you don't want to do financial planning, no, it's like going to the doctor and refusing to do any blood work or give x-rays and just say, just operate. So I don't like the idea of solving for a problem until I truly understand what the actual problem is. And I think people come in with ideas in their head from that surround sound, remember, of the noise of, hey, I have this problem. I need you to sell me something to solve it. I'm like, well, how do you know that's the root issue? Is this the real problem? Or is this a problem? Is there a bigger problem that needs to be uncovered first? So for me to take their life savings and just start throwing solutions, hey, this is what the guy that came in before you, this is what we did for them, this is good enough for you. It's irresponsible to do that if you're going to be a trusted advisor with someone's life savings. I think taking a little bit of time and saying, Abizer, I've gone through what's important to you. We've talked about your history with money. We've talked about how you got to where you are. We looked at all the facts and all the things that you want to achieve for you and your family. I believe I understand that. And now that I've seen all the data and the reality of your situation, Abizer, if I were you, knowing what I now know, this is what I would do. This is the order in which I would do it. And this is why. Now, speaking from that position of empathy, now you're saying, okay, this guy Rufus hears me, he sees me, he understands me, versus I look just like the guy that came in a few hours.
And I think the interesting thing here is, though, I think at some point you were doing it just to follow a process.
Yeah. And
I think now at some point it's more than a process. It's actually, you're like holding people in the palm of your hands with love, care, respect, and like you said, empathy as you take it for this journey. And you're doing it from your heart rather than just some business process written up. Okay, ask these 4 questions, the rudimentary nature of it. I think now it's a heartfelt journey you take with every client. And I think that's also a transition that we have to acknowledge that you've taken, right? That's another choice you've made.
People know it when you're faking it. So there is some degree of, you have to love, you have to care, you have to give a crap about what you're doing, about people. You can't just phone it in. So, I think people's BS meter is kind of finely tuned to detect that. But no, you can't fake empathy. You just can't. People know. You can, and even good actors, they can stay in character for only so long. The real you, and it's coming from a position of love. So yeah, I'm not saying come work with me because I love you. It's just kind of weird, but it is coming. You got to love what you do. If you don't love it, then you can't really be passionate about it. I don't see how you can.
Yeah, it's a difference. Like, the name of this podcast is The Bigger Game, from surviving to thriving. And what you described is a fundamental shift from surviving to thriving, right? People that go to work versus people that go to their hobby every day. It's just like that. Like, work is no longer a chore for them. It's just something they enjoy doing, and they jump out of bed because they go do that.
Mm-hmm.
How blessed are those folks?
Right. Yeah, I get to go help people today, and as a byproduct of what I do, I get to make a lot of money. So that's not a bad thing.
Really. There's this concept of what's in it for me. Comes down to what you talked about originally, this thing about getting the accolades, but take it to any business. Take it to, I don't know, I sell nails, right? And I just want to sell my nails. So Rufus, I don't care if you need a nail or a screw or whatever, just buy these nails, right? Now, if I look at it the other way and just look at, you're one of the creations on this planet, one of God's creations, or whatever your philosophy takes you, and you're just another human being like me, right? You're another thing. I'm just another thing, like that stone, like that tree, right? And we're all part of this huge continuum of things that were created, in some justifiable way and some logical way, whatever theory that is that one espouses to.
No.
Right. But at the end of the day, I'm not here to sell you those nails. Really, I'm here to find out how it can be of service to you, and if you need those nails today or not.
Right.
Right. And then how many do you need? So when I'm coming from that mindset, I'm not the guy who's, selling you a pound and shipping you only half a pound, or somehow for defrauding you, or selling you cheap nails that are going to break. Right. I'm actually, because I'm all interested about being of service to you, and that genuineness you were just talking about. Right. People can tell the fraud meter and the fake meter miles away, kind of like you said. So they can tell that.
Yeah, I think
so when I approach my craft, whatever it is, what you do, selling nails, anything in between, right? From that perspective, how joyous is my life?
Right.
Because I'm not about selling you anything. I'm just here being of service to you that particular moment. And you may not need nails today, but worst case, I met a fine human being, right? I met another friend, right?
Right. Yeah. Well,
how many times does humanity get in the way of that? I'm sorry, you were saying something.
No, I was saying, always talking with you, you always tap into that spiritual side that I don't naturally go there, but that's why I enjoy having conversations with you, because you have definitely an elegant way of kind of leveling things out in terms of the spiritual side of who we are as people and in the community and how we affect one another. I just don't consciously think about those things as much. You drag it out of me. I appreciate that about you. To kind of say back what you were talking about earlier, I think there's a bit of the harmony that has to be reached in understanding, you can still have things for yourself. And so two truths can exist at the same time. I can still be of service to others, and I can still benefit. I can still give to charity and still have my name up on the board and advertise and market my business. One doesn't necessarily have to diminish the other. So I think that the easier choice for most people is either or. I think the harder choice is having both and finding the harmony. And we've had conversations about harmony versus balance, and harmony is really the objective, not necessarily balance, because usually balance is a give-take. Harmony is very much in sync with one another, which is, of course, the name of my podcast is Constructive Interference, and two wavelengths and two frequencies overlap into one, they amplify. And I think that's the idea of harmony, is to amplify having both things. So, but even with your nail scenario, I mean, you try to take it personally. If I don't want your nails, I just don't. It's nothing about you. I just don't want your nails right now.
Yeah.
But you could still be of service to people, even if they don't want what you have. I know people like to keep score and say, if I do this enough times for this person, they now owe me this back. maybe they do, maybe they don't. I think if you start giving without any expectation of anything in return, you get more mileage out of giving. I think it comes through more. I think if you start with the intention, if I do this, then if I do X, you'll do Y for me. Then I said people just know where they stand with you, and that's not necessarily like, okay, well, this is a tit for tat kind of a person, versus just serve with no expectation. And I find you do that a lot. You really do, in saying, look, I'm not trying to drum up business here. I saw you. I noticed this. I wanted to talk to you about this. What do you think about this? And you'll start helping people recognize certain things. And I think you make them feel better about themselves and help them cross over with great breakthroughs. And you didn't make a dime out of that. But you know what? You just gained a fan. You just gained an advocate that says, you know what? I remember what Abizer did for me. You need to go speak to him. I think he can do it for you. And having that third-party endorsement is sometimes where we do have that reciprocity, is those raving fans that are out there singing our praises and giving us those third-party validations and third-party authorizations to people who need that social proof that Abizer's a good guy.
Yeah, because and that's unsolicited. It's not even the intention, right? Right. It's just it's a byproduct. So I think that's also a fantastic point. Same thing with how you navigate your life, right? I mean, I think that's a key part of it. This concept of marketing versus giving to charity, right? I think that comes down to my intention. Mm-hmm. If I'm giving to charity and marketing because it feeds my ego, mm-hmm. That's one thing. Right. If I'm doing the marketing from, hey, look, I'm going to grow this business so I can do more for charity. Mm-hmm. So a little bit of a different intention, right? And there's probably 10 higher intentions than that if we sat and talked about long enough, we could actually come up with. I think at the end of the day, it's not the action so much as it is my intention and who I'm being about whatever's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we don't get hung up on that.
It comes back to like, confidence versus arrogance, right? Same concept. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I guess if someone said, hey, I want to be a financial planner, and I want to make a lot of money in this profession, and as a byproduct of making a lot of money in this profession, I get to help a lot of people. Their intent was to go into business to make a lot of money, which most entrepreneurs do. I don't fault the entrepreneur for wanting to make a lot of money, and I don't shame them for it. And if they get to help a lot of people in doing it as a byproduct of what they do, the end result is still there, versus someone saying, I want to go be a financial advisor because I want to serve a lot of people, and as a byproduct of serving a lot of people, I get to make a lot of money. Okay, so the intent are two different things, but the end result still stands the same. It is the person that wants to make a lot of money, you can still do it with a lot of care, can do a lot of empathy and a lot of love, and still as a byproduct of what they're doing, they're helping a lot of people. So giving to charity and marketing, I understand what you're saying, but I don't get too hung up on that, what their intention is. I want to help children with cancer, or I just want to get my name in front of people with big wallets that can ultimately give me a good return on investment. As long as the cancer got the money, I don't really care what the intentions are. But I understand what you're saying. It's the authenticity of doing what the spirit of what we're there for, and it's not necessarily as a marketing. And look, one of my pet peeves is when someone will go to someone in my profession, will go to a potential client or even my client and say, hey, I know Rufus is charging you a fee for financial advice. I can do financial planning for free if you bring those dollars over here. So they're now using financial planning as a marketing tool to gather the assets, and it bothers the crap out of me. But the rest of the industry, for the most part, does not charge a fee for financial advice because they're using it as a marketing strategy to get the clients to know where all the assets are, first of all, and to build a relationship and to gather all the assets and move them over so they can make a lot of money. As I would say, you bring your money to me, don't bring your money to me. We're still doing financial planning. So I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. That's just what I prefer. And I think I come through as a lot more authentic that way.
But that's authentically you. So it works, right? Everyone's got their journey, and everyone's got their path. And the fact that you follow your path is huge. Right. I think the other side of that conversation you're just having about creating a lot of wealth is with what intention did I, first part of that is what intention did I create that wealth, right? For myself or for others or for whatever higher purpose, right? And then the second part of that is what did I do with it once I was given it, right? Now that I just sit at it, was I burying it underground and like sitting at it my entire life and didn't do anything with it? Because whatever I espouse to at some point, someone's gonna ask you that question. I gave you all this stuff, nature, God, pick it, anything in between. What'd you do with it? You just sat on it. So now I'm guilty of that, right? Now I got to deal with that on the other side. Or did I, receive it, pass it on, do what I could with it, and receive more as a return, right? I mean, a lot of religions, cultures.
Well, you're talking like yin and yang and give take and that
spirituality is like, there's almost all of these traditions have something around, the more thankful you are, the more you'll receive in some form or another. They have some way of saying that.
Yeah.
So if I'm more thankful I am, the more I give it away out of thankfulness, the more I receive, right? I continue that cycle. How much bigger is my game now?
And how much
more
and how are you measuring what you receive as well? Does everything have to be measured in dollars?
Could be anything. Could be time. Time is the only currency I don't get back, right? Money ebbs and flows, but time, I either waste that moment or I use that moment for something valuable. Either way, I'm not getting that moment back.
Right.
So I think it's multidimensional.
Yeah.
So leave our listeners. Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up here today?
No, I mean, is there anything? I don't know. Is there anything on top of mind that you wanted to ask me about specifically? Whether it be
you said a little bit about your journey and those kind of things.
I mean, my journey is my journey. I mean, I don't want to give my, I was born at a very early age. I went to grammar school, went to kindergarten. My life story is. You were born, you were 0 years old. I think it's interesting, but I don't think your viewers will find it as interesting. I think cutting to the chase of kind of some of the wisdom of what we learned over those journeys and kind of giving them the tidbits and the cliff notes of, hey, let me not give you the whole backstory. Let me just give you the moral of the story here. And I think the smartest thing that people can do is to either buy or borrow the wisdom of other people. And I've even said it in certain ways as the wise person learns from their mistakes. The wiser person learns from other people's mistakes. And I think being here to share some of these learnings with people and someone looking at that says, okay, Rufus has done a lot of things wrong, but he's in a good place right now. And this is his view. I could either go on my own journey and maybe come to that same conclusion, or just maybe look a little bit further in what his conclusion was. That's wisdom. That's wisdom that came through time and mistakes and failures. And like I said, to be able to spare people or rob people of that time that it does take to gain your own wisdom, I think is a very smart thing to do. And I love that you are doing a podcast, I'm doing a podcast, and we're just out there serving and trying to share little bits of wisdom. And sometimes it's those one little things, those one little drops that make that huge ripple effect that changes the world. And I think that's what we're doing there, is saying, okay, hey, look, I'm not right about everything, but this is what I feel very confident that I am right about, and it's this. And take it or leave it, or learn it the hard way if you don't believe me. I choose to go the easy route, so.
That's it.
The simple route, I would say. Simple.
The smarter route.
Simple is usually not easy. But yeah, the smarter way is probably a better way to put it too.
Yeah, the wise way.
Yeah. So there you go.
So thanks so much for being on, Rufus. Again, I've enjoyed witnessing your journey and have taken away my own nuggets for myself along the way, along with this conversation. Especially the transition from accolades, to being of service for accolades versus being of service to be of joy, and being of service to being giving with expectation, and then giving without expectation, the purity of that and the difference in the joy and the experience of that you alluded to. I think those are there's probably 100 other nuggets you could go into, but I'd recap the entire podcast and that wouldn't service anything. But those two for sure stick out for me and many others. So I want to thank you for your time today. Thanks for being with us and our listeners here today, and have a fabulous rest of the week.
You too. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
That wraps up this special episode of Constructive Interference, featuring my conversation with Abizer Rasheed. First streamed live on his LinkedIn. If this conversation sparks something for you, share it with someone who could use the insight. And let's keep building a community of visionaries who sharpen visionaries. Until next time, I'm Rufus Cressend. Stay bold, stay curious, and keep playing your bigger game.